It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. All right, so Daryl, let's get into a couple other things that are going on with the Browns. We got some injury updates. We also heard about Deshaun Watson's surgery.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, Deshaun, successful surgery. Rehab will start on Friday. Not sure when he's going to be able to come back to the Browns, but right now he is going to be spending his time out in Los Angeles as expected. Safety Rodney McLeod, his season is over. He was placed on injured reserve officially on Tuesday by the Browns. So the season's over. He's going to require bicep surgery. So that's a tough loss there. Anthony Walker, another difficult situation for the Browns. Good news, not season ending. He's got a hamstring injury. He is week to week, not day to day. He is week to week. So there is a chance, Andy, that he is not going to be available Sunday in Denver. Maybe he'll be available for the game in Los Angeles the following week against the Rams. And remember, the Browns will stay out west after Sunday's game. They are flying from Denver to Los Angeles. They will practice and work out all week at UCLA in preparation for that game against the Rams. They are not flying home. And I kind of feel like that's a real smart decision on Kevin Stefanski's part, whom, by the way, is inching closer to a contract extension with the Browns as this team keeps winning. Bad news for the Stefanski haters. And but yeah, it's all these injuries are starting to pile up for the Browns, no question about it. I mean, McLeod's the fifth key piece lost this season. Started with Jakeem Grant in training camp. They lost him. And then in week one, of course, Jack Conklin went down. Week two, Nick Chubb went down and was lost for the season. Deshaun Watson is out for the year. And now Rodney McLeod is out for the year.
Although when you count the numbers, I think one of the things the Browns have been extremely lucky on is the injury front is on defense. That's one of 11.
Don't jinx
You know what
them.
I'm saying? Well,
Yeah, don't jinx
you
them.
got to be realistic about one of the
Yeah,
reasons the Browns are winning is because the defense has maintained their health.
yeah,
It's obvious to the eye. I don't think, and I'm not saying it to jinx the team or to put the Browns in a situation where like, oh, well, look what happens now, boom, 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 boom. No, I mean, it's just a reality of the league. Players get hurt. We all know it. Look, we're looking at a league or a division in the AFC North that really feels like it only has one starting quarterback because
yeah.
Pittsburgh is like, okay, and now Cincinnati's out. We're out.
Oh,
So I just think it's the realistic part. And by the way, the division's still looking at maybe the chance of having four teams, although Cincinnati's in trouble right now. But we'll
I
see.
have to tell you, I'm shocked that the Steelers finally fired Matt Canada.
Yeah, we didn't bring that up yet. You know who's the happiest people on earth? Every Steeler fan I know.
Every
And
Steeler
how
fan.
often does it happen that one against the Browns? They're like, the Browns are the final straw. Now you're fired, right? I
Well,
mean,
we've seen that in recent years, though. Losses to the Browns have forced the Steelers to make minor organizational changes with coordinators and coaches and quarterbacks and stuff. So it's interesting. Usually, it's the Browns that make the organizational changes after losing to the Steelers. So welcome to the other side, Pittsburgh.
it's that bus ride from Cleveland to Pittsburgh can be bad, but it's not really bad when it's Pittsburgh to Cleveland.
Now the Steelers
Um,
are starting to find out how the Browns have been living for the last a quarter century.
can the Browns make the? I mean, can the Browns be serious about
Yeah,
going far in the playoffs with this defense? That's another question that I hear all the time. I think so. There is something about this defense, Daryl.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if the I just don't know if the offense is good enough because of the quarterback situation. Like, I mean, that's just the biggest problem right now is they they don't have a quarterback right now. Like, I hope DTR grows into that spot and plays well down the stretch and whatnot. And certainly, as I've been saying, it's a little bit of a shot in the arm to see him be successful down the stretch. But let's be honest about it, Andy. Like, they don't have a quarterback right now. The defense is carrying them. Amari Cooper kind of carries them offensively. The running game is going to have to continue to carry them a little bit here. But yeah, I mean, you just don't have the dynamic player at the most important position. And that's why I just kind of have my reservations about whether or not they can go deep into the playoffs. Certainly hope they do. I think that they're going to make the playoffs. Although when you look at their schedule down the stretch, it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'll give you I'll give you the rundown because I posted this on X. If anything, just for my own uh, knowledge, but the Denver's 5-5. They go to the Rams, who are 4-6. Home for 7-3 Jacksonville, who's currently the number 3 seed in the AFC, behind number 1 Baltimore and number 2 Kansas City. Home against the 3-8 Bears. Then they travel to 6-4 Houston, where CJ Stroud is just having an incredible rookie season for the Texans. Home for the 4-6 Jets before they wrap up the regular season week 18 in Cincinnati. The Bengals, of course, lost Joe Burrow for the year, and they're 5-5. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Bengals are dead where they stand and done. But the perk of the Browns beating the Steelers is they could go out west and lose the next 2 games. They're still 7-5 and still in the catbird seat as far as making the postseason here, right? I mean,
Right, exactly.
that was such a big win for them to give themselves a cushion and some room to work with here. And again, that's why you don't hear me talking about Joe Flacco coming in here and saving the day and just got to buy some time for him to get up to speed and all that. They now have the luxury of giving Dorian Thompson-Robinson an honest opportunity here to play and see what he can do offensively. But yeah, they're in pretty good shape here. And here's the thing: there's a chance that if they win in Denver, Andy, the Browns could be the number 1 seed in the AFC.
That's amazing. I mean, it blows me away because someone brought that to my attention today, and to be able to do this with a backup quarterback, it's it's going to be a challenge. It's
Yeah.
truly going to be a challenge to be able to do
So
this. But again, I go back to that question about the defense. Like, I think the defense can take this team that far.
yeah, I think it's if the Browns beat the Broncos and the Chargers are able to beat the Ravens, that puts the Browns in first place in the AFC North. And then if both of those things happen and the Chiefs lose and Jacksonville loses, I think that puts the Browns in number 1 overall in the AFC. How crazy is that? They are a half game out of the number 1 seed. And I got to be honest with you, if Deshaun Watson was still healthy, we'd be having a whole different conversation right now about whether or not they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders and are they, the best team in the NFL right now.
They were going into last night's Monday night game, 7% chance of winning the Super Bowl. It's amazing if you go look at the percentages of the Browns' odds. I mean, they're gigantic to make the playoffs. They're like 50% to win in the first round. They're 25% to win in the next round, 13% to make the Super Bowl, and 7% to win the Super Bowl. But I don't, again, am I allowed to look ahead? I can't remember. Am I?
Just trying to go 1-0 this week, Andy.
There you go, Kevin. Nice job. Appreciate you. Are we done ripping Kevin Stefanski, or is that just we got to wait for a week, right? Can fans stop for a week?
I hope so.
Are you allowed to stop for a week?
Yeah. I honestly don't want to hear it the rest of the season. I'm so done with the running Kevin Stefanski out of Cleveland talk. I really am, Andy. I mean, here, let me pull up again something else I put. I feel like I'm just going through my X feed right now. How about this statistic? Of all the bat bleep crazy Brown stats you could have, how about this stat, Andy? The Browns have a plus 47 point differential so far this season. It is the largest since 1999, and it is only the 3rd time in the expansion era the Browns have been on the plus side of the point differential. They were plus 24 in 2002 when they went 9-7. They were plus 20 in 2007 when they went 10-6. How about this? And I triple and quadruple checked this stat because I didn't believe it when I discovered it.
Drop the mic, baby. Drop it.
They were outscored by 11 in 2020. They went 11-5 that year with a minus 11 point differential. So yes, and Kevin Stefanski has won games this year with 3 different quarterbacks. Okay, Stefanski as Browns head coach, he's starting to pile it up. Quite frankly, they're 12-11 now in the AFC North. He is plus 6 games over 500 overall. I think he's like 33-27, something like that. They're 21-10 at home under Kevin Stefanski. And I just, is he perfect? No. But compared to the sheer incompetence that we have had to watch since 1999 from Browns head coaches, I'm sorry. I am willing to ride with this guy. I think he should get a 2-year contract extension.
At the end of the season, though, you don't do it now, right?
Right. You give him a 2-year because he's got 1 year left on his existing deal, okay? So what you do is you give him a 2-year contract extension, which keeps him under contract the next 3 years. If the next 2 years go well, then you give him another 2-year contract extension. This way you become fiscally responsible as an organization. Because remember what Randy Lerner did with Romeo Crennel and Phil Savage after they went 10-6. Those guys got 4- and 5-year contract extensions. And then in the final year of their original deals, he fired them after the 2008 season. And so he ended up having to pay out in full the contract extensions for both Phil Savage and Romeo Crennel. So if you're the Haslams right now, I feel like
do we have any? We don't have any.
No, they've paid everybody off. They are clean. So for the first time in a long time,
there was one point, man, they were paying more coaches not to be with the Browns. I mean, coaches and general managers and former
there's a reason why.
and
Listen, there's a reason why I always say the Browns have the best severance package in professional sports outside of Texas A&M.
Oh man.
But yeah, give Kevin a 2-year extension, all right, because that gives him a little security, so he doesn't come into 2024 as the quote unquote lame duck coach in the final year of his contract, and you're not holding that over his head. And look, let's just say for the sake of discussion, next year's a disaster, right? Next year's back to the Browns being the Browns. Well, then guess what? You're only paying out a 2-year extension versus paying out another 4 or 5 years. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And by giving them a 2-year, you're saying, hey, we want you to stay. That means we have had you under contract for 8 years, which is not something the Browns are used to doing, right? So yeah, I think he's earned it. I really do. And again, I'm not saying he's infallible. Okay. Yes, there are play calls that he has that I just vehemently disagree with at times. Still, that 3rd and 3 at Seattle is still seared into the front of my memory. But I think he has done a remarkable job considering the challenges that he has faced. He's had 1 year of his 4 where he's had an available quarterback from start to finish. Okay. And it was Baker Mayfield's best season as a professional. And then you look at injuries, you look at how he presents himself. I know I joke about him being boring and bland in his press conferences. I know, obviously you guys probably do and everyone else does, but he presents himself as the de facto spokesperson for the organization in a very professional manner. We've not had controversies. We've not had a 3-ring circus around this team since he's been here. He is very even keeled. He doesn't allow himself to get emotional about things, or if he does, he keeps it behind closed doors and nobody sees it. So yes, I feel like he is what the Browns have been looking for for a very, very long time. The guy I'm concerned about losing, though, I'll tell you in the next segment.
Boom. Great job, Daryl. All right, we'll come back about that. And I also want to talk about some stadium news. Very interesting. It's it's always game day in Cleveland. Why? What? Why are you looking at me like that? It's always game day in Cleveland. Back right after this.